Hello class. In this video I'm going to show you how to get started on your National Parks project. Well, the math part of your National Parks project. So in the document that I shared with you, which is currently a work in progress, you can see there's not much on it, but hopefully by the time you view this video there'll be lots of instructions. There is a link here that says go to this site. So when you click that site, you're going to get this welcome to visitor use statistics, and you're going to start typing in your park name here. So I have the Grand Canyon. There it is. Then it brings you to the park reports. The one that you want for the first part of the project is the annual park recreation visitation. My particular park gives me information all the way back to 1919. Your park, depending on when it opened, is going to have different data, of course. But we open that, and it gives you this table that has the number of visitors, recreational visitors, every year until last year, 2018, and then it totals them up at the bottom. A couple of things about this table. First, it's recreational visitors, so that means that those are people who are coming on vacation, for camping, for hiking, not people who are scientists or students or employees or anything like that. Second, if I were to graph all of this data, that's 100 years worth of data for my particular park. That is a lot of work. So if you also have a ton of data and a lot of years on your table, you're going to want to decide how to make that more manageable. What I chose to do was to start with the year 1920 and then just graph every 5 years after that, so 20, 25, 1930, 1935, and so on. And I went all the way up to 2015. And that way I didn't need to do every single year. You could do every 10 years, you could do every 20. Of course, the wider the spread of years, the fewer data points you're going to have. So you'll kind of have to use your judgment on what seems to make sense based on how long your park has been running. If your park has only opened within the last 20, 40 years, you could use every year of data. So I found it hard to follow 1920 and then 1925 and then jump down to 1930 when I was making the graph. So I created a table for myself and I just copied the numbers down. You're also going to want to keep track of how many years since your first year, because I don't know if you remember when we talked about 8th graders, this is more to you, when we talked about an x-axis that has actual years, like if this said 1920, and I'm trying to find a slope between this point and this point over here at 21, 22, 1923, that's going to give me some weird numbers when I do my x minus x to find the slope, because the numbers are years, not actual, I don't know. I mean, they're numbers. I don't want to say they're not actual numbers, but you know what I mean. We talked about this in class. So I also made a column on my table that says year since 1915, so that I had my graph, when I created my graph, my y-axis, my 0 is 1915, and then I have every 5 years after 1915 all the way up to 100 years after 1915. So that's how you will get started. If it doesn't bother you to look at the table on the computer and graph and also keep track of how many years after your starting year, then do it that way. It's not a requirement to make this table. But that is your first step. So I hope you found that helpful.